It's Mailbag Monday. We got questions about Zegras, Patrick Kane, and the IIHF, which we're all going to answer on this episode of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome every day. Thanks for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen today, every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Kyle Carr, and I'm a lifelong Anaheim Ducks fan, and I've spent multiple years covering collegiate sports, including college hockey. But today we're talking about the Anaheim Ducks, and it is a mailbag episode. We've got some great questions from the fans, including questions about how the Ducks are doing at the IIHF, International Ice Hockey Federation Worlds, and how it would look if Patrick Kane possibly came to the Ducks, and whether or not Trevor Zegras will be a top goal scorer. So let's get to that mailbag and pop open these questions. So Luis, he asks, do you think Zegras will be a top goal scorer again since Coach Q has been hired as head coach? Well, I think that Zegras will definitely become a top goal scorer again. The previous season was evidence that with his previous injuries in the season, 2 seasons ago, last season, all these injuries were mounting up for Z, and he kind of had to get that brushed off. I talked about it last week. He had the injury scaries and had to get those out of the way and really get back into that NHL level of pace. Also, with Coach Cronin, there was this emphasis and basically leash being held around Zegras on his offensive play style. Coach Cronin wanted him to play a more 200-foot game. He wanted him to be a lot more responsible in the defensive zone, a lot more responsible in the back checking, and didn't really want the flashy, hot, sexy Instagram looking plays. There was a little bit of that at the end of the season. You could see he was kind of getting more in his pace, and it looked like Cronin sort of let him get back into that style because he proved that he was being more responsible. So it's kind of some give and take there. Zegras came out and said that he appreciated the way that Cronin held him to accountable for those types of plays, but also I think, he definitely appreciated it. He liked that this was the first time held him accountable to be that type of player and kind of didn't let him get away with not doing the full 200-foot game. So there was some positives there, but I really think Zegras flourishes better with a little bit more of a loose leash, a loose coach, a loose anything that just helps him be a little bit more offensive. And as much as Cronin helped him mature and develop, now you're getting Coach Quenneville to come in, who has a proven track record with star players and not only developing a team structure that is defensive and responsible, but allows players like Trevor Zegras to have a lot more freedom and a lot more leeway to really use their skills and talents and hone them and put them to the team's advantage. So I think not only do you take the responsibility and the development that Zegras had under Cronin and learning how to really play those tight minutes and play to a pace and an understanding of there's every little mistake can add up, or every little thing that you do, like you've got to put in the hard work, especially if you're trying to go deep in the regular season and make it into the playoffs. There has to be a level of responsibility and a level of accountability. But now, gonna bring in a players coach, a coach who all players previously that have played for him have well, I don't want to say all players, but most players that have reported on the way he coaches and the way he brings the locker room together, they all mention that he makes it fun to play. He makes it fun to come to the locker room. Yes, he's got an old school style of coaching and mentality, and there's certain things that are a little bit more stringent, but it sounds like he knows how to balance that. Like, you can be a hardo, but also have, acceptance. Like, you can be stern, but you don't have to be a complete a-hole every single day to where the team doesn't want to come and play for you. There's give and take, and it sounds like Coach Q is one of those guys that has that ability to have the give and take with players, and especially with the guys like Trevor Zegras, who are going to try to be a little bit more skilled, a little bit more free, a little more uh, loosey goosey, and putting up, you know, Michigan goals and putting between the leg passes and making crazy behind the back plays. He's going to make sure that they have the freedom and the understanding that they can use those skills that they have, as long as they fall within the structure. And then he builds the structure as well around allowing freedom. So it's almost like he knows how to take every player's best version of themselves and apply it into the entire team structure, so that there's a lot of prowess and there's a lot of defense and there's a lot of crazy skilled plays. And someone that I think is the most obvious comparable to a Zegras type center is Patrick Kane. Granted, Kane's a winger, but the style of play that Patrick Kane has, we'll talk about it in the next segment, because the next person's question kind of has to do with that. But the the type of player that Patrick Kane was when he was younger, granted, he was able to have Coach Quenneville at the beginning of his NHL career and really got to develop not only his offensive skills, but also his defensive mindset, his full 200-foot, full NHL level pace of play. That was all ingrained in him at the beginning of his career. But now having a guy like Zegras, who's had a person like Dallas Eakins as a coach, and now a person as Greg Cronin as a coach, now you're kind of getting the best of both worlds with Coach Quenneville. And if Dallas Eakins can get Zegras to have a great career at the beginning of his, or a great season at the beginning of his career, and then Greg Cronin gives him this accountability mindset, now you got Coach Q, who's going to be able to let him feel loose, let him feel accepted, let him feel like he can play his style of play, while also taking the new skills and development that he did get from Cronin and really just meshing it all together. And look at Patrick Kane now as his career's gone on. He's always been able to be skilled. He's always been able to have crazy offensive plays and crazy just goals out of nowhere. His playmaking, everything about Patrick Kane. He's a future Hall of Fame player, and now you get to have someone who idolized Patrick Kane in Trevor Zegras and put that out on the ice again and really create a bona fide goal scorer. And I only see Zegras's numbers going completely up. I see him skyrocketing. I see him getting tougher. I see him getting more goals. I see him getting more assists. Like, I really see Zegras becoming this offensive cornerstone for the team. You saw it in the analytics last season. Every time he was out there after he got healthy, he made the team better. The numbers were just so much better when he was on the ice. And when he was on top of his game, it was even that much more of an increase in everyone's numbers out there. So he makes the team better. Q's going to make the player better, and once the player's better, the team's going to get better. So it's all going to pile up into this wonderful snowball of success, and it's going to really start with Trevor Zegras becoming a top goal scorer again. I could see easily 30 goals for Trevor, if not 50 goals next year. Maybe not next year, but within the 2 years, like I think a healthy Z, a well-coached Z, and a new mature Z is going to only go to the moon. It's the only place it can go, and it's going to start with next season. So absolutely look forward to him being a top goal scorer. And someone that I mentioned in this is Patrick Kane. And the next question we have kind of revolves around Zegras's admiration of Patrick Kane and the future of the Ducks. So we'll get into that coming up next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. It's about to be Memorial Day weekend. It's about to be summer break. There are so many things that all of a sudden the bank account starts getting drained. But with Monarch Money, you can get ahead of the game, see where you're at financially, start making some savings, start making plans for what you want to do over the summer break, and don't lose track of anything. So make sure you take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. And now to our next mailbag question. Ephraim writes, I watched the video on Zegras and it made me think about coaching. I remember after Zegras signed his bridge deal and one of his first meetings with Cronin takes away his hockey stick. Do you think that soured the relationship with him right away? And if I remember correctly, Patrick Kane was his favorite player and his favorite coach was Quenneville. Do you think that unleashes him? And do you think a reunion in Anaheim with Kane could be beneficial? Just picking your brain. Well, kind of talked about it in the first segment there for that first part of that question. It seems like everyone is really looking at how Zegras is going to be affected by Coach Quenneville. And there are some of those out there that still are trying to say that Zegras is not going to be in Anaheim. And I'm sorry, y'all need to go walk away from the dispensaries in Santa Ana because whatever you're smoking is not good for your mental health. Trevor Zegras is not leaving Anaheim. There is no way in any way that Zegras will be moved after his performance at the end of the season and looking at how he is on the team and the way he brings the team up. So now, not only that, we're bringing in Coach Quenneville. You asked if Cronin and his relationship got soured. It sounds like there might have been a little beef or there might have been a little issue at the beginning of the time with Cronin. It wasn't just Zegras's hockey stick that he took away. Like the literally day one of his first practice, I was at Great Park Ice for the first day of training camp, and the first thing Cronin does was take everyone's stick, put it in the corner, and started having them make defensive plays without a stick. So they had the guy with the puck would have a stick, obviously, because they're stick handling, but everyone else would have to, without a stick, try to angle him off and body him. Basically try to come out and just like start this physical, like, what if you don't have a stick type thing. It was just kind of trying to set the tone. Like, I'm going to try to make you able to still play defensively, even if you lose your stick or whatever. Like, it was this whole thing that he had. So it wasn't just Zegras' stick that he took, but he definitely, I think, killed the vibes a little bit on a lot of these guys that were starting to come up. And it's like, yeah, you want to have a little accountability. You want to have someone that's a little gives you a little spark, but uh, I don't think it was exactly what they were looking for. And he definitely killed a little bit of the vibe, a little bit of the juju. Granted, Zegras was injured for most of Cronin's tenure in Anaheim. And it sounds like I said in the first segment, towards the end, when Cronin really started to hold Z accountable to his 200-foot game, that Zegras did appreciate it. He told Verbeek that it was the first time a coach had ever held him accountable for the entire 200-foot game. And so he kind of got away with things because of his skill as an offensive player. He kind of got away with coaches in his youth and development, allowing him to play that style. But now having Coach Q come in, I think it absolutely will help, and he's going to skyrocket. But something I really want to hit on towards the end of the question there is whether or not Patrick Kane will come to Anaheim. And I really don't think that it's going to happen. I don't think it should happen. Would it be a crazy storyline? Absolutely. And yes, Trevor Zegras did say when he was in World Juniors, when he was in college, when he started to come into the NHL, he always brought up that his play style was emulated after Patrick Kane, that he was his role model, his hero, his hockey idol, and that he would watch his games all the time and basically emulate his game towards the way that Patrick Kane played. And that was the person who inspired him and, kind of created the Trevor Zegras that we know now, is based off of watching Patrick Kane and his glory days and coming up. So definitely an idol there. However, with Kane now up as a UFA, he only signed the 1 year with the Detroit Red Wings last year for $4 million. Could Anaheim afford it? Absolutely. $4 million bucks. Patrick Kane, with the cap space that the Ducks have, sure. Easy money. They could pull him over, especially with the cap going up. Is it the right thing to do? I don't think so. It would be a crazy storyline. Patrick Kane, Coach Quenneville, Zegras with his hero playing together. Like, there's a lot of storylines, and it can sound really positive coming out, but with the team developing with these young cats and all of these players that are starting to develop, I think Patrick Kane coming over would kind of take away from the team and kind of take away the focus on developing these younger guys. I'm not saying that the coach is going to be favoritism or like there's going to be anything like that, but I just don't think him coming over is really going to give the dramatic boost or dramatic effect that you would want it to. And I just think that, I mean, it's going to be his 20th season in the NHL. 20th season for Patrick Kane next year, wherever he plays. And he's already got the 3 cups. Like, does he want to make another run? Does he want to keep playing? I think he's definitely one of those guys that you're going to have to literally take his skates away from him. Hit players like Kane, Sidney Crosby, those guys, like, you're literally going to have to rip them off of the ice with their walker and everything before they finally step away. But I bringing him back to Anaheim, bringing him back with Coach Q, I think they had their time together. They had their success together. And it's a totally different league now and a totally different place for both Coach Q and for Patrick Kane. I just don't see it needing to happen or be the blend that people would like it to be. And with free agency right now, there's just a lot more lucrative and younger players that the Ducks can target with that cap space. Like Nikolai Ehlers has been someone that's been kind of buzzing around. Obviously, there's the Marner talk. I really hope that doesn't happen. Sam Bennett. There's a lot of free agents coming out, and right now also we got to focus on Mason McTavish and Lukasz Dostal and getting them contracts, because you got to to pay respect to the guys you already have. Keep the troops proud and keep the troops happy. You got to keep that morale up within the homegrown troops. So I think putting faith and putting effort into those guys will not only help them as individuals, but show the guys that are developing with Anaheim right now that, if they're successful with this team, they're going to stay. They're going to be able to get a good contract, and they're going to be able to stay with the team, and they're going to put faith and development into these guys. But then if you keep bringing in all these old vets and older guys that are, just because of their name, it's that weird mix. I mean, look at Nashville. Nashville brought in every single big gun you could think of out of free agency last year, and they were at the bottom of the league. They were terrible. So keep it homegrown, keep it local. Go get a good goal scorer that's out there that's still kind of young, and you know, I really think like a Nikolai Ehlers would be a stellar find or pickup for Anaheim. Sam Bennett, I like the way he plays. I love his physicality. Yeah, he's still there. He's going to be beat up after these playoffs, but he's a guy that can recover and shows up every single day. Marner, I just don't think it's going to be there. And Patrick Kane, it's just not necessary. I don't see it. And also with the whole hiring of Quenneville already, that I feel like that'd just be another PR nightmare, kind of a black eye, like with everything with Kyle Beach and Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews being asked about it, and the whole. I think it'd just re-sour everything. It would just bring it back up, bring up more PR scrutiny, and it just wouldn't be a good look for the Ducks as a whole. I love Patrick Kane. It would be awesome if he was here, but no, Patrick Kane will not make a reunion with Coach Q, and he will not become an Anaheim Duck. It just doesn't make sense, and it's not the time or the place, and it's unfortunate. But if he does, if all of a sudden he's a Duck, I won't complain, but I don't see it happening. And we got one more question to get to. We'll get to that next, and basically a check-in with our young Ducks that are out there in international play. We'll get to just how well they are doing out there. Back to the mailbag. Dale, he wrote on the YouTube with a big question. How are our young players doing in international play? Well, Dale, they're doing pretty all right. Our young players are having success, but they aren't overly dominating play. They're doing well. They're playing well for the team, but they're not, the top. There's not really the top goal scorers, or they're not making the biggest splash out of all of the players out there, but they are holding their own and they're playing very solid hockey out there. We'll start with Cutter Gauthier. He really kicked it off the tournament pretty well. He came out, started the scoring for Team USA, had a couple goals in a couple games, and was doing really well, but he's kind of pittered off towards the end of the preliminary round. Not really much movement in the last couple of games. He is currently 29th in the tournament in scoring. He has 6 points with 4 goals and 2 assists. He is a +6, so also playing well defensively. Not really many goals going in when he's out on the ice. I think he's been having a lot of fun. It seems like he's been playing with Clayton Keller out there, and might not be getting assists, but he's definitely assisting the team and creating offense, and kind of just creating a blunder out there for the opposing team, and allowing his teammates to get those goals for them. So definitely love watching him play. He's been having a lot of fun out there. Really doing well, really surprising after the season he had this year. It just keeps going, and it's just going to carry on into next year, which is going to be fantastic. And then right below him in the scoring race at 30th is Stein Solberg, the young defenseman who is playing out in Sweden. He's Norwegian. Now he's coming over, playing for Team Norway, and he's been doing absolutely amazing for how young he is and how strong he's been out there in international play. Is no joke. It's been great to watch. And he was actually the first player out of the entire tournament to get a hat trick. So props to you. And as a defenseman, and not only did he get the first hat trick of the tournament, not only did he get the first hat trick of the tournament as a defenseman, he got the first hat trick of the tournament as a defenseman against Team USA, against Cutter Gauthier, against Jackson Lacombe. He brought it against the big dogs, USA. And unfortunately for Norway, not unfortunately for us, USA, but they did lose in overtime. It was a 6-5 game. They brought it against Team USA. So, it all came from the way that Stain Solberg was playing. And there are a ton of reports coming out that he is NHL ready. He's ready to come in. He's ready to break in, and he's been keeping up with the big dogs, and he is absolutely NHL ready. However, I talked about this last week as well. I think that Tristan Luneau, out of all the young defensemen, Tristan Luneau is going to probably break in first, but there's going to be an absolute battle at training camp and at development camp and in the preseason this year to try to get those roster spots filled out for the defensemen. And that is a great problem to have a bunch of young, healthy, hungry, NHL caliber defensemen ready to play and battling out to try to make it into the roster. You cannot complain as a GM or as a coach. That is great. But yeah, I did mention he is 30th in scoring. He has the same amount of points as Cutter, same amount of goals, and the same amount of assists, but he has played 7 games. Cutter Gauthier has only played 6. So that is why he is down 1 spot from him. And then right below those two with 5 points is the young Swede, Leo Carlson. This guy is playing such good hockey out there. You can just tell he's having fun. Like, I am blown away by this kid. It's like every game, there's something more to his game, or there's something more that just sticks out. And I will ride this bike until I die. The Ducks are so much more lucky to have Leo Carlson than Connor Bedard. I think like Patrick Kane mentioned in an interview is that when you draft, you don't draft for the player they are when they're 18. You draft for the player that they're going to be when they're 24, 25, 26 years old. And Leo's development just continues to step up and continues to grow, and his speed goes up, his visibility or his vision, his mentality, his just hockey IQ just is mind blowing, and it's only going to go up. And I really, really think the Ducks stole the draft by getting Leo Carlson. And so yeah, he's at 5 points. He's got 2 goals and 3 assists, and he's been playing on that top line up there in Sweden. He's been playing on the power play, and even if he's not showing up on the score sheet, he is causing complete mayhem for his teammates. Like, his ability to take up the soft spaces, and he'll get in front of the net, he'll tie up the defense. His skill has made other teams be aware of him to where he's pulling defensemen away and allowing his teammates to get open or to create those offensive plays and score. So his development in this offseason is really going up well, and it's just I'm blown away every single time he plays, every single time he touches the ice. And you just look at his highlights, or you look at any of the Sweden highlights, you can pretty much spot out Leo Carlson out there on the ice in almost every goal scoring opportunity. He's just been doing absolutely great. And I can't say good things about him. Sorry, I'm just all frazzled right now with how well he's been doing. And then someone who is not really lighting up the lamp, but has been playing complete shutdown domination defense, Jackson Lacombe. He took everything that he did this year in Anaheim and has been giving it to Team USA. He is one of the top defenders. I believe he is tied at number one on Team USA for the plus minus. He's at plus 7, I think it was. Yeah, plus 7, and he has 3 points. He got his first goal the other day against Kazakhstan. So finally, cracking through on that, getting a couple assists, but everything else that he has been doing, he has just been playing dominant defense. He's been shutting teams down. He's been shutting the top guys down, just doing what he does best, his angles, his hits, his breakouts, everything that you want out of Jackson Lacombe is out there on the ice on display with Team USA. And another cat that next year it's just going to be where's the ceiling for him? It's just going to keep going up, and who knows what it'll be. I really see him being a Norris candidate, and it, he keeps proving it. He's playing great in international play, and it's continuing to go on. And we're really lucky that we had a pretty good amount of young Ducks out there for the IHF. I kind of wish we could have had more of the players. I know you got to get breaks, you got to stay healthy, especially if you got contracts, whatever's going on. But I would have liked to have seen some more Ducks, and it stems from whether or not they tried out, or if they were able to even get the call to go, or if they even wanted to. I'm not exactly sure on how many were in what category, but it would have been nice to see some more Anaheim Ducks in that lineup. Someone that is out there as well, he kind of sneaks under the radar. Isaac Lundestrom, he's been playing all right out there, not doing the best, not doing the worst, and he's also been having some fun with Team Sweden. So he is one of the players that I feel like Anaheim could use as a trade piece. So having some decent, moderate success in the tournament play will help with advertising and selling him for Anaheim to use as a trade piece. I know there's a lot of people that do like Isaac Lundestrom, but I think the Ducks need to bolster up that fourth line with a little bit more physicality and a little bit more size. And no offense whatsoever to Isaac, but that's just where I see Anaheim going, especially with these playoffs. Pat Verbeek mentioned he gave the players homework to basically watch all the playoffs and watch how physical and how demanding the playoffs are, especially that first round and deep into the second round. And now the conference finals are coming up, and it's just big hits every single night. You gotta pay the price to go deep in these playoffs, and the Ducks need to learn that, and they got to get tough. They got to get big, and that's just the way they need to go. But for now, if you do want to watch some of these Ducks players and you want to see how they're doing out there in the IHF, the preliminary round only has 1 day left, and that is tomorrow, Tuesday. And you can check out Team USA playing Czechia at 7:20 a.m. Pacific on Tuesday. And then Sweden plays Canada at 11:20 a.m. Pacific on Tuesday as well. So the elimination rounds do begin Thursday, May 22nd. So that'll be some more play. We'll see how things go there. But that is the IIHF breakdown and catch up. And that has been the first official Mailbag Monday. So make sure you guys, if you want to have your questions answered or you want to get your point across and have it here on Locked On Ducks, go to cartalksports.com. That's KJER talksports.com. There's a tab that you can go and connect with Locked On Ducks, and it'll send your questions right to me. And I look forward to seeing what other questions and ideas you guys have in the offseason. There's a lot to talk about. We got drafts, we got the free agency, we've got trades. There's all sorts of things that are going to happen. So whatever you want to talk about or think about, or you have some crazy idea, if you were the GM Pat Verbeek, what you would do, send them my way. That's KJERTALKSSPORTS.com. So cartalksports.com/connect, or you can just go to the main homepage and go to the connect button at the bottom. So please go there. And then also make sure you like and subscribe to the Locked On Anaheim Ducks podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, because The more we grow, the more we talk, the more Ducks fans we connect with, and the more we get our voices heard. So thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night, until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, go check out the YouTube and like and subscribe. And I am Kyle Carr. Be good out there.